Welcome you to our Board of Commissioners regular meeting from Monday, April the 14th, 2014. I'd like to welcome all of you again for being here, all the kids and everything. We do appreciate that. Madam Clerk, all of the commissioners here, along with the county attorney and the county manager. Just if I could ask you to mute all your electronic devices, if you have any with you, turn them down on vibrate for me. I would appreciate that. And if you are a presenter tonight, if you would, please speak real close to the microphone for me so Madam Clerk over here can get the minutes for us really good. Our invocation tonight is going to be done by Chaplain Ken Day, and then as soon as Ken gets through with the invocation, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance with the North Liberty School, where Lisa Irvin is the principal. So, Ken Day, if you'll come up and give us our invocation, and everyone please stand.
Let us pray. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for an opportunity to gather and do the people's business. We ask that your will be done and your spirit move upon the participants and the leaders of our community. We also ask, Lord, that we remember the poor in our community and those who are not as fortunate as us, and that decisions can be made to help them and their families and their loved ones. I ask, Lord, that you bless the county commissioners in their decision making and all the employees of the county and the state and the federal government, as our world needs these peoples. We need them very soundly in our lives. Lord, thank you for everything you've given us in a great county, a great state, a great nation. We ask these things in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ken. All right, for our Pledge of Allegiance. You can if you'd like to.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, gentlemen, next item of business is the approval of the meeting minutes. We have three sets: February 28th, 2014, our recess budget presentation, March the 4th, our pre-agenda, and March the 18th, a regular meeting, and we have those provided by email on Sunday, and you also received a hard copy. If there's no additions or corrections, I will take a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Wayne. All in favor, please raise your right hand. That's 5-0, Madam Clerk. Also, we have the approval of the agenda as amended. We did have some supplemental information that was provided. I think all of you are aware of that supplemental information from Manager Steen. That would be the photos that he is going to show tonight. So I'll take a motion on that.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the agenda as slightly amended.
Thank you. You've heard the motion from Major, and all in favor signify by raising your right hand. Be 5-0, Madam Clerk. We have four presentations tonight. The first one will be from the Sheriff of Burke County, who will be awarding the Advanced Professional Certificate to Captain Dean Hennessy. Hey, Sheriff.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, and others. Thank you for the opportunity to make a presentation to a captain that recently retired, and you can see he's already started facial hair, and it didn't take very long. The other day we asked him what he was doing. He said he was out back in the yard feeding squirrels, so he's living a wonderful life. But I'd like to tell you a little bit about Captain Hennessy. Captain Dean Hennessy has 29 years of law enforcement experience combined between Morganton Department of Public Safety and the Burke County Sheriff's Office. He began his law enforcement career in August 1985. He's preserved way all of it. August 1985 with the Morganton Department of Public Safety. He was awarded the basic law enforcement certification in 1985 and was promoted to public safety officer with the parole division that same year. After serving as a patrol officer for approximately 9.5 years, Hennessy was promoted to investigator. For the next 14 years, Hennessy served as an investigator with both the Narcotics Task Force and the Criminal Investigation Division. Hennessy was promoted to desk sergeant over the Records Division in November of 2009. In February 2011, he was promoted to sergeant over the Burke County Jail, and in July 2011, he was promoted to lieutenant over the jail. In February 2012, he was promoted to the position until he held into his retirement. Prior to his law enforcement career, Captain Hennessy had served 12 years in the United States Army Reserve, where he graduated from the U.S. Army Drill Sergeants Academy. As a recipient of this prestigious award, Captain Hennessy is among the elite of the law enforcement officer in the state of North Carolina. And I would also just like to read a short letter from our Attorney General, Roy Cooper. Dear Officer Hennessy, I extend my most sincere congratulations to you on the award of this Advanced Certificate Award and the honor which it bestows upon you. As a recipient of this prestigious award, you have placed yourself among the elite of justice officers in the state of North Carolina. I commend you for your commitment to professionalism. Display your certificate with pride as it represents your outstanding contributions and achievements as a representative of your department and as a justice officer in the state's criminal justice system. And again, that's from our Attorney General, Roy Cooper. Captain Hennessy also received at the same time the Advanced Professional Certificate, and he was also provided a letter from our Attorney General with the same text. But I'd like to invite Captain Hennessy up here and present him with his advanced certificates. Captain Hennessy, thank you. We already missed you at the Sheriff's Office. We've had to go on 1 week less time between our rotations for administrative on-call. So, but thank you for all you've done, Dean. You've done a very great service to the citizens of Burke County, and I, and the Sheriff's Office, and the citizens. Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Dean, do you want to say anything? You want to say anything? No. You sure? Well, on behalf of the Burke County Board of Commissioners, let me tell you how much we do appreciate everything you have done for this county. As a holder of that same award, I know what you have to go through to get that. And heartfelt thanks from me, and this board does appreciate everything that you've done, and I know the citizens of Burke County appreciate what you've done. So again, thank you, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all too.
Thank you. Our second presentation will be Western Piedmont Community College Quarterly Financial Update, and that will be presented by Ms. Sandy Holman, the Chief Finance Officer from Western Piedmont Community College. Hey, Sandy.
Good evening. Hope you are all doing well. If you'll look at the budget on page 60 of your packages, what we have here is our funding streams, which are state, county, and institutional. First, we'll look at our state funds in the first three columns. We have a budget of $17,922,637, and so far through March 31st, 2014, we have received $12,535,175. With our expenditures through March 31st, we have spent $12,300,212, which is 68.6% of our allotment. Our largest expenditures are in the area of curriculum instruction, with salaries and benefits overall being our highest expenditure category, with approximately 90% going towards salaries and benefits. In the next three columns, in the light blue, you'll see our county budget. Our current budget is $2,182,000, which includes county appropriations, rental income generated by the college, and any interest income that we earn. We have received $1,717,240 of this budget, with an expected $464,760 remaining throughout the fiscal year. Of this, we've spent $1,538,753, mostly for plant operations and maintenance. Through March 31st, we have utilized 70.5% of our budget, which is pretty much on target for the year. The final three columns that you'll see there is our institutional budget, which basically includes anything else other than state and county appropriations. We budgeted $10,549,830 for our institutional funds. Majority of this is financial aid, grants that the college receives, self-supporting courses provided, our bookstore, and other miscellaneous accounts. Most of these accounts are restricted in nature as to their designations, but approximately 75% is for financial student aid, and then another 15% for our bookstore. That's the majority of our institutional budget. And you can see that we've spent 82.4% of the institutional budget to date. As a total, for the combined college budget for fiscal year 2013-2014 through March 31st, our total combined budget is $30,654,467, of which we have expended $22,531,672, or 73.5%. Again, we're on target for the year with our expenditures. In the bottom left, you'll see our capital improvement project money that we've got, some from state and some from county. Our capital improvement projects from the county portion of $141,000 is being utilized to replace the final chiller and updates to our control system for our HVAC. Our state portion, that $655,511, went towards a new maintenance building, a classroom for our emergency service training center, campus signage, a keyless exterior door access system, and then elevator repairs that were much needed. And we're about 40% through most of those projects. The next page just wanted to break down the actual spending categories based upon salaries and benefits, service, repairs and maintenance, supplies, insurance, utilities, transfers, and others. And as you can see, about 75% of our county expenditures goes towards salaries and benefits and utility cost. Are there any questions on any of the budget outlays?
All right, gentlemen, you've heard the report from Sandy. Anybody got any comments or questions?
Good report. No questions.
As always, Sandy, very thorough, and we do thank you for this quarterly report. Madam Clerk, we're going to receive this report, and there's no further action will be needed. Moving on to item number 3 will be the Burke County Public Schools Quarterly Financial Update, and that will be presented by Michelle Myers, Assistant Financial Officer, Internal Auditor. Hey, Michelle.
Good evening, members of the board and county officials. I'm here to present third quarter financials for the Burke County Public Schools. The first page is our estimated revenues, and as you can see, we're pretty well on target at 73% of our total revenues received. Our state revenue is at 75.1%. Our federal revenue is 65.7%, which that lags behind a little bit due to us being on a reimbursement basis. Local is at 73.9%. Fines and forfeitures at 64%, and we're a little behind on projection for that category. Fund balance, we're pleased to present that we have only used 26.3% of that through March 31st. And our special revenue, 76.1%. And special revenue is made up of federal, state, local, and Medicaid funds for our exceptional children that is not allocated to us by DPI. Okay, moving on to our next page is our expenses, our local financials by purpose and function level. First category is 5,100 regular instructional services. This is primarily made up of teacher supplements and our STEAM Academy. Total spent year to date is a little over $2 million. Next category is 5,300 alternative programs and services, and this supports our Halliburton Academy and mobile pre-K bus. Total expenditures is $196,217 or $196,217. Next category is 5,500 our co-curricular services. This is made up of our coaching salaries and supplements and our middle school athletic allotments and band allotments. Total spent year to date is $57,801. Next category is 5,800 school-based support services. And that supports our nurses and safety resource officers. We've spent $245,804. And you will notice in third quarter there's a credit there of $14,673, and that is due to the fact that we received matching state grants, so the expenses were moved to state. Next category is 6,500 operational support services. We've spent a little over $6.4 million. And our last category is 8,100 payments to other governmental units, and that is made up of our charter school tuition and Avery County tuition. We've spent $409,328, and that category is capped out due to Avery County and the charter school tuition being a little more, being higher than budgeted. That concludes my presentation. Any questions?
All right, gentlemen, you've heard the presentation. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman, another good report. Michelle, I'm going to ask a question I've asked before, and I forgot where it is. Where do we find the lottery? Which fund does it show up in there? Can you tell me?
I'm not sure of that, actually.
Okay.
I didn't go over that with Mr. Lawson when we were going through the presentation. I don't want to tell you the wrong thing.
Well, I asked before, but I forgot which one they told me. But anyhow,
I will ask him and have him get back to you.
okay,
if you'd like.
all right.
Michelle, let me ask you one question. I see where you're using fund balance. Now, is that because some of your funds haven't come in, you've had to dip into fund balance?
Yes.
Okay, and then when funds come in, that'll be replenished back into fund balance, correct? Okay, very good. Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions? Any other comments? Okay, Michelle, thank you. Madam Clerk will receive the information and note for other action as needed. Item number 4 on presentations will be our Burke County Employee Health Improvement Initiative presented by Rhonda Lee, our own Human Resources Director.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. I am pleased to share with you information regarding a new wellness initiative that we're going to be rolling out this spring. And the initiative is a 3-part voluntary program that consists of participation in voluntary biometric screenings for our employees, completion of an online individual risk assessment, and participation in health coaching sessions focused on prevention and establishing healthy behaviors. We are partnering with Carolina's healthcare systems to manage this process and to conduct the biometric screenings. Okay. There we go. Got it. Our employees are one of the county's most valuable resources, and unfortunately, we face some pretty significant health risks out there. These are some of the top health risks that our employees face. Weight, which can lead to cardiovascular disease and hypertension and diabetes. Cholesterol, which can lead to coronary artery disease and stroke. Blood pressure, that can lead to heart disease, stroke, heart failure, and kidney disease. So these are some pretty serious things our folks face. There are several key determinants of health and cost of care. Part is access to care. That's about a 10% that's attributed to that. Access to care means that the employees don't have access to like health care. That's really kind of a non-issue for here in our county. They can go to Blue Ridge. There's plenty of facilities there for that. 20% is attributable to genetics. There's not much we can do about what we're dealt as far as heredity goes. And then environment would be like the community that we're living in, clean water, fresh air, community, that type thing. But the number one determinant of health care or health and the cost of health care are employee behavior or people, the behaviors that we have. And those are the things that we can deal with and we can focus on, are the behaviors. Why are we looking into an employer-based wellness strategy? Well, there's several reasons. The medical community doesn't have the tools to motivate our population. Physicians have very little power to motivate employees to make healthy choices and to participate in yearly physicals and exams. Our employees struggle to find successful health strategies on their own, like dieting and exercising. Our claims are what drive our cost. And if we have an unhealthy employee population, then claims are going to go up. And then when claims go up, that makes premiums go up for our employees. So we want to try to maintain those costs. And while it's not easy to get your employees to participate in these type plans, it's the right thing to do. Okay. And why are we considering biometric screening and health coaching? The health of the county population is at risk, like we spoke of earlier. We're doing this to improve the health of our employees and to improve the quality of their life for when they retire. We want our folks to live a long life and a happy retirement, a happy life. We want to maintain current benefit levels or improve those. we hear a lot of feedback if we have to increase deductibles and the out-of-pocket and that kind of thing. So these efforts are to try to maintain and keep those down. And this is also to manage our health insurance premium rates as well. There are financial incentives in this program, and historically, the employee at Burke County has not had to pay for employee-only coverage. And what we're doing now is there is going to be a $30 monthly charge for employee coverage, and that would be for our PPO and our HSA plan as well. And if the employee participates in the health screenings and the health risk assessments and the coaching sessions, then that $30 monthly fee or premium will be waived. So they'll end up back at zero for participating. Why do we even think about the financial incentives? Pretty much because our employees need a reason to participate. If there's no financial incentive, then there's not a good reason for them to participate in the screenings. So that's why we're implementing the financial incentives. The wellness program process. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be having biometric screenings, and these are voluntary, so the employee doesn't have to do them. But this will be happening the end of May and the beginning of June, and they will be conducted at the Foothills Conference Center. What we're going to be determining during those screenings will be body mass index, blood pressure, screening measurements like lipid profiles that we're looking for cholesterol and triglycerides, HbA1c, that's testing for diabetes, and it's a finger stick, so it's not a venipuncture process that we're going to go through. At the end of this, the employees will have a one-on-one counseling session after the screening, so that will be good feedback for our employees. The wellness program also has a health coaching benefit, and this doesn't mean we're going to be out on the football field or anything like that. So the health coaching will be done by a registered nurse or a registered dietitian, and these will be employees of Carolina's healthcare system. And what is health coaching? It is a tool to assist our employees in achieving wellness goals and managing conditions and illnesses. And what will happen during the screening process, our employees will be determined if they're at risk for one of these serious health conditions. And they will be referred to either having 2 or 3 counseling sessions within the fiscal year with these folks with Carolina healthcare system. So those health coaching sessions will be held somewhere on site, private for our employees. It won't be somewhere like in HR or in the county manager's office or anywhere like that. And so, but they will meet with them for 30 minutes. And it's, again, just participation that we're asking our people to do. The health coaching, what are we hoping to accomplish? We're hoping to accomplish change, improvement with our employees' health. We're hoping for a healthy workforce, long-term healthy workforce. And for our employees, there's financial incentive for participating in this. What we'll get feedback from Carolina Health Systems or healthcare systems will be getting, the employee will be getting individual results from the screening process. We will be receiving an aggregate group report of health screening participants. That's how we'll know if we need to charge the premium or not for those. And they will determine who is in need of health coaching. The Carolina's health care system folks will be doing that. Again, like I said earlier, the sessions will be held at a site in Burke County. We're looking at maybe the Pfeiffer Wellness Center. The folks over there have offered to let us have an office there to use for that as well. Again, the employees will be going to the counseling or coaching sessions conducted by health educators, registered nurses, or registered dietitians, 30 minutes. And then the focus is on, for the employee, ways to improve health-based or personal strengths, identifying motivators and barriers to change, and setting realistic goals to achieve a healthier lifestyle. These are some other counties and cities that are currently doing this. We've got Brunswick, Cabarrus, which the clerk was part of that group. The city of Monroe, city of Shelby, city of Washington, Cleveland, Cumberland, Dare, Edgecombe, Forsyth, Henderson, and the list goes on. We've got Iredell, Lincoln, Nash, Onslow, Robeson, Rowan, and Sampson counties. So there's a lot of different counties doing this. We're really excited about this, and we're going to be rolling this out to the employees this week. We've met with the department heads. We've met with each of you to explain the process and what we're going to be going through. And we're really excited about making a difference in the lives of our employees. And I'll be welcoming any questions you may have.
Okay, gentlemen, you've heard the report from Rhonda. Anybody got any questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions. You have on page 6 of your report, I believe, without the financial incentives, employees will not participate. Has it been tried without it, Rhonda? Or?
It has. In the feedback that we've gotten, in fact, we looked at doing this last year, and it just got, we just couldn't get it done last year. So we got a lot of feedback from other counties, and the participation rate without the financial incentives was around like 20% participation, and that just isn't a large enough percentage of employees to be effective in the process.
And the financial incentive is that they're not charged to participate, correct?
Yes, they will be waived the premium, the $30 premium. And it's actually, we get paid biweekly, so it's a $15 biweekly amount.
It's going to cost the county $50,000, but
Yes, sir.
you're saying that that $50,000, more than the $50,000, would be saved through preventive illnesses and emergencies.
We would like to think that. There are no hard facts. I read up on some information that said when you implement a wellness program, it takes at least 3 to 4 to 5 years to see a financial return or an economic return. We've had a lot of discussion, with the department heads, and one thing that if we make a difference in one person's life, and we find an issue with one person out there that might be at risk for a heart attack, might be at risk for, some major serious illness that's caught through the screening process, then I think that more than pays for it with that.
Have we taken any surveys or anything, and do we have an indication of percentage of participants? How many employees?
We haven't taken any on the county level. I've gotten statistics from other counties, and the estimated participation rate for this year is roughly around 90%.
How much?
90.
90. Mm-hmm. This is not a trick question. It's an important question, okay? How will we know when it's working, and what timetable do you think it'll take? How will we know that the investment made by the taxpayers is paying off, and how long before we know?
Well, again, I think statistics show that it takes a good 3 to 4 years before you're really going to see any improvement. And this is not a fix-all. If somebody has some serious condition that they have had for some time, then they know they have it. It's not going to take care of that. This is going to take care of the people, and if Mr. Imes, does it mind me using him as an example? Mr. Imes did not go have physicals and all that, and Mr. Imes had a major health issue some time back. He is a very strong supporter of this. In fact, he would like it to be mandatory for everybody, but he is like an example for us here. I'm sure there's people in our workforce that haven't had a physical in quite some time, that haven't had a screening in quite some time, and this will, they may not want to. They may want to pay the $30 and not have it anyway, and that's their choice, and we want them to have a choice. But again, if we can reach out to a population of our employees that they find out that they had an issue that they can take care of early on before it gets really bad, then I think we've done our job.
Okay, I think, I guess one of the questions too is, what system are we using, or do we have a system that we'll be measuring the results of this?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Mhm. And it's very important that everybody know that Burke County is not going to be seeing the health information for these folks. The only reports we get back from the health screening part is who did not participate. And that helps us determine, from a payroll standpoint, the premiums to put in there. The only other thing that we will ever see is if people are referred to the coaching segment of this. If those people do not attend those sessions, then we'll get notification that we need to start charging them. But this is all handled by Carolina's healthcare system for us. So we're not in
Final
a...
question then.
Sure.
Are there any conditions of any employees that they would not get to participate? A pre-existing condition of something?
Not that I'm
Does the
aware
doctor
of.
have to sign off that they can participate in this exercise?
No. Mm-mm. No. This is simply they'll get a finger stick, they'll be weighed, they'll be measured, and that's it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Rhonda, is this tied to our insurance premium? Are we receiving a discount because we are doing this program?
No, we're not going to be receiving. We're self-insured, so we're not going to be receiving any kind of discounts from our administrator, which is Blue Cross Blue Shield, for this. No.
Anything else? Mr. Manager?
Gentlemen, like she was saying, we're self-insured, so if somebody has a health problem and a claim, it comes out of the money that we budget for health insurance. We've gone 4 years without any noticeable increase. That's almost unheard of in any organization, especially the size of Burke County or bigger. If we don't take some constructive means to influence our future health cost, then what we can just about guarantee is it's going to continue to rise. This is to make a person aware of their health, any health issues they may have, hopefully early enough that they can take proactive steps to make a correction before some sort of a catastrophic or extremely serious health event occurs, which is extremely costly to us. A stroke, a heart attack, any of those things, and nobody can predict, nobody has any idea what may be happening. So again, this is a reasonable step as an employer to try and contain future health care or health insurance increases by trying to proactively help our employees become aware of their health conditions. If they have some issues that need to be addressed, the coaches are there to try to help them through that, so they make some changes to their behavior, and maybe I don't get so many bacon cheeseburgers because they tell me it's not good for me or something along those lines. But that's what this is. Again, I think it is a reasonable effort. It's not very invasive, and it tries to make people more aware of their health conditions so that hopefully we limit our actual payout of dollars, taxpayer dollars, for things that can be prevented.
Yeah, and Mr. Chairman, those questions, Rhonda, I'm reminded of that old cliche, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of the cure, and I like the program. But also, from my position and answering to the citizens, feel we need a way to monitor, evaluate, and see whether we're successful or not. And I think if we have that, it'll keep the program for a long time for you, is what I'm saying. Yeah.
I hope so.
Okay. Anything else?
Mr. Manager, just for my own information, this doesn't have to do with the program, but when we say we're self-insured, I believe I heard Rhonda say we work through Blue Cross Blue Shield. Are we part of a group of counties, or are our premiums looked at just as Burke County?
That sounds like a good Paul question. He's been here since they founded the county. He knows what has happened.
I may know one or two things. I don't know about everything, but now being self-insured, we're looked at individually, so we're not part of a larger pool. And Blue Cross, we pay them to administer and process the paperwork and all the claims on behalf of the county. So the way that works is that, we have estimated premium cost of what, the anticipated medical claims will be for, all the county employees for the year. And we set our budgets based on how much those expected claims are. Now, as the county manager was alluding to, we've had several years where, we've had good years, and so, we haven't experienced the increases that in medical costs that a lot of people have. So when we set the budget, we set aside, that much money to pay claims. And if you have a good year, then you've got money left over. Now, if you've got a bad year, heaven, hopefully we haven't, we don't experience anything like that. We'd obviously have to come back to the Board of Commissioners and ask for more money, to pay the claims that we don't have funds to pay for. So the cost on this is probably the equivalent of about 7 employees. The money we set aside for about 7 employees would cover the cost of this program. And so, as I mentioned in the pre-agenda, we have funds available from the benefits of those 4 good years to pay this cost. And there's no way to guarantee, there's no way to absolutely tell you that spending $50,000 has saved us 150 or 25, because you just don't know what the claims would have been, for that person if they participate or not. But I think the reasonableness of the program would indicate that if you're doing something proactive on the front end, you're going to save things on the back end. So it's a very nominal cost, I think, and just like Rhonda said, in my instance, for example, I didn't incur any medical costs for years. Well, when I had my medical event, and you spend, a few days in the hospital, then those costs, add up quickly. So, like Rhonda said, if we can, prevent one person from spending a week in the hospital on a medical event, then, that would more than pay for this cost. But again, there's no concrete way. I can't stand up here, and I don't think Rhonda or the county manager would stand up here and guarantee any kind of return on this outlay. But I think it's just safe to assume that, a little bit of money up front, will help us identify, because I don't know how many employees out here, I'm sure, sort of like me, is you go along thinking everything's fine, and if something's going to happen, it's going to happen to somebody else, because, I feel great. And you wake up one day and you find out, well, you're not great. So anything that you can do to get that information, to find out what's going on that you have no concept of, and can save that money for the costs that you're going to incur in the emergency room, ambulance, or hospital, doctors, whatever, because again, those costs add up very quickly. And I'm like Ron said, I'm a proponent, because if I had this, then I'd like to think that I wouldn't have had my medical event, and I could have done something to curb that, and we would have not incurred that expense either. So.
Anything else? All right, Rhonda, thank you so very much. Madam Clerk, we'll receive that information, and no further action is required. Moving on down to item number 7, there are no scheduled public hearings for tonight. Moving on down to number 8, informal public comments. Madam Clerk, anybody
I
signed
have
up?
no cards tonight.
No cards? Nobody signed up. All right, moving on to item number 9, the consent agenda presented by Brian Steen, our county manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you have 10 items on your consent agenda. Number 1, community development, adoption of ordinance authorizing the adoption of ordinance authorizing the repair or closure of condemned structure located at 1581 US 70 Conley Springs. Item 2, clerk, acceptance of CDBG progress reports submitted by Western Piedmont Council of Government. Item 3, county manager, resolution of appreciation for Western Piedmont COG employee. Item 4, finance, authorization for deputy finance director to execute pre-audit certificates in the absence of the finance director. Item 5, finance, application for public school building capital funds. Item 6, Fire Marshal, training grant for North Carolina Emergency Management to hold swiftwater rescue training in Burke County. Item 7, SWCD, request for classification of position. Item number 8, Tax Office EMS collection report for February 2014. Item 9, Tax Office refund and release report for March 2014. Item 10, Tax Office tax collection report for March 2014. That concludes your consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. What is the pleasure of the board? On the
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
You heard Wayne's motion. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Be 5-0, Madam Clerk. Moving on to item number 10, our items for a decision from the county manager. We'll have an update on the execution of right-of-way acquisition between Burke County and the North Carolina Department of Transportation for the Enola Road widening project at the intersection of Enola Road and Government Drive. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, gentlemen. Some time ago, we had we were approached by the North Carolina Department of Transportation regarding the purchase of right-of-way on county property there at Government Drive off of Enola Road. We received an offer. That has not been acted on by the county manager's office and the attorney. Over time, we became aware through the actual construction of what I thought was a temporary detour to connect the road that services the State Employees Credit Union on Enola Road and the State Highway Patrol Office, and they connected directly to Government Drive, which is a private road owned by the county. And in talking with the DOT engineer, he said, yes, that was part of their plan. It was actually a taking of our actual hard surface road to become the permanent route for the traffic to get to the credit union and the State Highway Patrol Office because of the changes in the roadway there due to the construction. We bring this back before you because, again, the county attorney and I were not aware that that was what the intentions of the state of North Carolina was. Had we known that, we would probably have not made a positive recommendation to accept the offer that the Department of Transportation made. So we bring that back to you tonight for consideration to rescind that original action by the board and to authorize us to try to negotiate a better result for the county with the state DOT.
Okay, gentlemen, anybody have any questions for the county manager?
Mr. Manager, have we had any discussions with the state as to how this will proceed if we rescind? What's time frames and how's that going to happen?
I don't know about a particular time frame, finite time frame, but I would go ahead and contact the DOT engineer, tell him that we had rescinded that and asked to renegotiate a new price for the property that they're taking from us. I would work with the county attorney in doing that. If we're not successful, then they would have to go another route, formal route. I believe they may be able to tell us a little more about that if the board wants to know about it. But if they're going to be taking a road that we built, I think I would be looking in, if I was negotiating, for them to actually take over that road back to a certain point where it breaks off and goes up to Broughton Hospital, and for them to make repairs and bring it up to state their state standards and maintain it from this point on, instead of us, because they're talking about fuel trucks possibly going in down to the State Highway Patrol Office and some other things, and that drive was not constructed with that kind of traffic in mind. So that would be what I would be interested in trying to negotiate with the state, if at all possible.
Mr. Chairman, Brian, do we know the area, the square footage, half acre, quarter acre, and do we have any idea of what we're looking at if we were going to ask for additional dollars or whatever?
Well, no, I mean, I haven't had that far a conversation, but I can tell you that they are coming off of Enola Road right at 250 feet down our road and they tied into it. So we know that they're taking 250 feet of our current road there at Government Drive. I believe in some of the original information we had, it was saying something around .561 acres of right-of-way and .050 acre temporary construction easement at the intersection of Enola Road and Government Drive.
Is there an estimate guess of the value of that if we prolong this?
I'm not certified as an appraiser to be able to give you an answer to that, I'm sorry.
Brian, where was, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I guess my question would we get enough additional money worth of headaches? Would it be twice as much as we're offering, 3 times, 4 times? And again, I heard you say that you didn't have the expertise to do the value, but I'm just wondering what we're really getting into as far as what all steps and the return of our efforts.
Again, that's something I would have no control over, but if we don't do anything, we know what they're talking about offering us, and now we're fully aware of what their actual intent was. And I don't know that that is a just price in comparison to what was paid to other parties for property. I think if we were able to work with DOT for them to take over that roadway back to where it goes up to Broughton, since that is a state facility, that in and of itself is somewhere over $100 and some thousand in estimated repair cost. So I think, my recommendation to the board is that y'all authorize me to go back and say, we need to come to another agreement on this. And if they're going to be using our road, then I would like for them to actually take over the maintenance and bring it up to their standards.
Brian, where was the .561 acre right-of-way that's described in the previous negotiations?
Well, apparently it goes from Enola Road over 250 feet down Government Road, and I'm assuming it's taking the left and right shoulders of the property that was owned by the county.
I guess that's what I'm wondering, is that .561 acres, the 250 feet we're talking about?
Well, again, when we were originally approached, we just thought they were taking some of the shoulder. We didn't know they were taking the paved portion of our road from us and turning it into a connector road over to the Highway Patrol and the State Employee Credit Union.
Jeff, at first, when we negotiated this, at the first meeting we had on this, there was no mention that there would be any connector road built. We were just totally unaware that there'd be a connector road of any kind built. I think we were under the assumption that the road that was currently being used right beside the credit union that goes in to the teller machine on the left and then on down to DMV, I think we were all under the assumption that that road would be maintained and used. And it's not. Obviously, it's been closed off, and the far end of the credit union has been closed off. So there had to be some kind of connector road built. And that's when we were a little surprised when we saw that. And if I remember correctly, that half acre did not include any connector road behind the front portion, which would have been the entrance that they widened. They moved our sign to the rear of that acreage. So if you look at the sheriff's sign now, that would be the rear of what they asked us and paid us for. So that road is way further behind the sheriff's sign now to the entrance of Government Drive. And does that kind of clear that? Any other comments or questions?
Mr. Chairman, it appears to me that we somewhat don't have enough information to proceed, and to get that information, it appears we need to give the manager the permission to contact an appraiser and to look at it and come back and tell us what we're looking at in dollars and cents, and If we end up in litigation, what we're talking about that, J.R. Simpson probably needs to look at it too, but a little more information would be a great help on that situation.
Thank you, Maynard. That's one of the reasons I had asked them to rewrite the motion as it is, because that will actually give the county manager the authority to do exactly what you're wanting done, to open up the negotiations and allow him to start looking at cost and price and see if we can negotiate an agreement. Either they pay us or they maintain the road for us, whatever he can work out. And that's whoever makes this motion, I would please encourage you to read this whole motion. I'd like for this whole motion to be on the record so that in case we go into litigation somewhere down the road, which I hope we don't, but I'd like this read for the record. So, but this motion, if I'm not badly mistaken, will give Brian the authority to do all of that, Maynard.
Exactly. Mr. Chairman, I'll go ahead and make that motion
Okay.
because I think it does cover what you're saying in there.
All right.
And move that the board rescind the action of the Board of Commissioners taken at their meeting of October 18, 2011, approving the granting of a right-of-way for the North Carolina Department of Transportation over certain property owned by Burke County at the intersection of Enola Road and Government Drive as set forth in a proposal from North Carolina Department of Transportation dated June 16, 2011. Further move that the county manager is authorized to enter into negotiations with North Carolina Department of Transportation for an acceptable settlement for the county based upon the taking of a portion of Government Drive for use as the sole access to the North Carolina Highway Patrol Station and other property, and the value of the Government Drive property, and report to the board the results of such negotiation. Further move that nothing in the motion shall affect the agreement reached by the parties concerning the Patton High School right-of-way requested by the North Carolina Department of Transportation.
Thank you, Wayne. Everybody's heard the motion from Wayne. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hands. That will be 5-0, Madam Clerk. Thank you so very much. Our next item for decision is the amendment to the Emergency Communications Center contracts, and County Manager will handle that one also. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you may remember when we were in pre-agenda, I made you aware that our clerk to the works, Mr. Bob Costner, passed away a few weeks ago. MCP was his employer through a contract that we had with MCP. They made repeated attempts to try and find somebody from their earlier pool of applicants. They could not get anybody interested even to return their phone calls. And the project was ongoing, and the project was falling behind as far as the completion schedule. And I felt that something needed to be done so that we would have somebody on the ground keeping an eye and keeping after our contractor to try to get back on the schedule. You have before you some information in the summary of information background. MCP, given the short period of time remaining on the project, MCP was not able to quickly locate a replacement for Mr. Costner, and therefore the remaining balance of $38,443 for that portion of the contract needs to be terminated. A portion of those funds will be needed to cover the amendment from Mosley Architects, in addition to the contract in the amount not to exceed $35,000 is proposed to deal with the delayed project completion date and would extend the expiration date of the MCP contract to August 7th, 2014. The net effect of these items is a reduction of $3,443. Number two, Mosley Architects, an increase of $2,500 per week for additional services in order to compensate for the lack of a clerk of the works. It is anticipated that the additional services would be needed for approximately 8 weeks, and therefore the cost is expected to be around $20,000. If we see that progress has been made, we don't have to go that far, but that's what we're looking at, and the funds are there still remaining in the grant fund to make these changes.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody have any questions or comments for Brian? If not, what's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the aforementioned contract amendments as presented by County Manager.
Everybody's heard the motion with Jeff. All in favor signify by raising your right hands. Be 5-0, Madam Clerk. Thank you so much. Moving on to section number 11, reports and comments. This time I recognize the county manager for an update on our county projects. Brian?
All righty, let me get a clicker.
A clicker.
And we'll get started. I've got some photos for you to take a look at. I haven't been certified in the use of this, so if I have a problem, bear with me. Scott, is there any particular place I need to point?
Right there.
All righty. I don't know if you can see those pictures very well. This is in the, I call it breathalyzer room there at Burke, where we moved the intoxilizer machines for breath tests for DWIs. You also have a computer and printer, and you can see the television screen there for the video arraignment as well as video probable cause, so that that can be handled there in the room instead of officers having to drive people back and forth to see the magistrate. So that's in operation. They're taking it step by step. They've also done some first appearance arraignments for people who've been charged, and they need to go before a district court judge within 96 hours. That's the fingerprint machine. And the intoxilizers and this fingerprint machine were turned over to us from Morganton Public Safety, so we don't have any cost for the purchase of this equipment at this point in time. So if the person is arrested for a felony, they don't have to take them back into the sheriff's office and through some of the areas the sheriff's office has to use the fingerprint machine they have there. They can just fingerprint them right there in Burke. And this is a photo of an actual probable cause trial or hearing in progress. With our warrant sergeant there is back to you. We've got some pictures of the probation offices there in the basement of the courthouse. This is an existing hallway there in the courthouse basement. Another hallway. And these are some of the offices. You can see that they were not sure what kind of construction process was used to build those offices, but you can see in this picture here where the wall doesn't even go all the way to the ceiling.
Is that a good or a bad thing?
If they're trying to have a confidential discussion with a probationer, that's probably not a good thing. I don't know if it's about an 8 to 12-inch gap there. These are some of the new offices. Some of these offices have already been inhabited by folks that we were paying for rent for offices down on I believe it was, West Union Street. So we're saving, we're not paying the rent space off the courthouse campus. There's another office that's in use now. One of the hallways in part of the newly constructed area, another hallway. The probation officers that are in the basement of the courthouse now are scheduled to be moved into the new office space May 7th, and that is kind of a request from their supervisor to wait until May 7th to move them. I don't know if that's coordinating hookup with the state's data system or what, but that's what they asked for. I know when we were down for our lunch for our budget workshop, y'all saw some of the equipment that was there in the senior centers, and as you may remember, all that equipment had been donated. It had not been formally purchased by the county, and we were grateful for the donations, but our seniors had worn them out, and they needed to be replaced. We had some funds left over from some capital projects, and we have just gotten some equipment in at both the Morganton Senior Center and the East Burke Senior Center. And here's some pictures of some of that equipment. And they just really got that last week and had to assemble it, so that's why part of the reason we were so late in getting the photos today. And this is over at East Burke Senior Center. They don't have quite as much room, so they weren't able to buy quite as many of the different pieces of equipment, but they did get all that they could hold. And I believe that's it.
Thank you, Brian. Anybody have any questions or comments for Brian on his update? Well, thank you, County Manager, for everything that we've been doing. I'm sure the people at the Senior Center will be tickled to death to get that new equipment down there, and I'm glad to see that. Now, if we can get something done to that building, I think we'll be in great shape. So I do appreciate that. Let's move on to item number 2 is our comments from board members. Let's start on the other end with my favorite barrister.
I don't have any comments tonight, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else, Brian?
No, sir.
No comment.
Maynard?
Well, I would just like to wish everybody a happy Easter. We'll not meet again until Easter is come and gone, so it's next Sunday.
Jeff?
No comment, Mr. Chairman.
Jack?
I passed too, thanks.
Madam Clerk?
Thank you.
All right. The only thing I want to recognize is the George Shuffler family. I think everybody's aware that George passed away not long ago, and George was a wonderful man, a good friend of mine too, king of some bluegrass music, well known in Nashville and here in Burke County. So to the Shuffler family, condolences from the Board of Commissioners. All right, I would like to move on now to the vacancy announcements. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, we have the following vacancies on county boards and committees: Hickory Regional Planning Commission, Adult Care Home Community Advisory Committee, Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee, the Council on Aging, Juvenile Crime Prevention Council, the Burke County Planning Board, Library Board of Trustees, Morganton Board of Adjustment for the ETJ area, Partners Behavioral Health Management, and Western Piedmont Community College Board of Trustees.
Okay, thank you very much. We do have need for a closed session to preserve the attorney-client privilege and discuss threatened or pending litigation, discuss economic development matters, and discuss personnel matter as authorized by North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11, paragraphs A3, 4, and 6. I will take a motion to go into closed session.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor, raise your right hands. That's a 5-0. Let's take a short break and retire to a closed session.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
All right, we had a motion to come out of closed session. No action was taken. Have a motion by Maynard to adjourn. All in favor, say, aye. Let's go. All right.
Let's quit.